Another episode of Outside Shots. Live from Denver is my man Eddie Johnson. I'm Saul Bookman, live from my own house, my own gig. We appreciate you, and as always, we're brought to you by the good folks at ogsbrands.com, the best edible in the game. Got a lot of things to get into today, Eddie. First of all, how's Denver? How you liking it?
I don't know. I've been asleep most of the time.
Is that my hot air getting to you, or what?
No, man. I'm working 6-7 hours a day, man. Working hard as I always do. That's the kind of guy I am, Saul, since I've been 14 years old. That's what I do, man. I just work. I applaud people that just work and enjoy it. And so when I get done, man, after interviewing all these players and coaches and celebrities, whoever we've been interviewing, then I just got to come home and go to sleep, man.
I feel you.
I'm old now, man. I'm not that 20-something-year-old anymore, man. Got all that energy. Even though I got energy, but not that kind of energy to stay up late,
I got you. Well, hey, there's a lot of great food out there in Denver, but you can hit me up after this so you can find out where the good spots are. But before we get into any of that stuff, another D-town made some news yesterday, obviously, in Detroit. Hiring Monty Williams, a big contract. I think it was something like 6 years, $78.5 million. He's going to be making $13 million a year. And with incentives and such, he could be on that staff for 8 years and make almost $100 million, which is quite incredible. And what I will say, I'll lead this off with this. Monty Williams is a tremendous coach. He's a tremendous human being. I think he did a lot of great things here with the Suns. I think he is a great builder. If you're looking for somebody to set the foundation for who you want to be or where you want to go, there's not many individuals out there that you could find that could do a better job than Monty Williams. You obviously have been around him several times or over the course of the last 4 years. You've seen him work. And now that he's in Detroit, what is your ultimate take on what happened yesterday?
I'm shocked. I never thought we'd see the day where a coach can literally now stand up in front of players and make just as much money as they do. Like, I don't know if we're going to get to that. I think this is an anomaly. I hate to throw cold water on coaches out there that think that Monty has reset the bar. No, he hasn't. There ain't no reset, no bar. No, it's like people thought that the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Utah Jazz trade reset the bar, and these teams started asking for crazy amounts and a ton of draft picks. And how did that work out? No, this is an anomaly. This was the Detroit Pistons wanting Monty Williams. They weren't negotiating against anything other than him saying he just wanted to take a year off. It wasn't like it was other teams out there that was offering him this and they were going back and forth and they were negotiating. No, this was about Monty Williams using the strategy of, and I don't know if this was a strategy or not, whatever it was, it worked, of saying, I don't know if I'm going to coach this year. And that's all he said. And I think his history of his personality, the way that he carries himself, made Detroit believe that it was not posturing, right? He wasn't posturing. He was basically telling them the truth. And that's what Monty has built his platform on. And so because of that, They wanted him. They have a very young team in Detroit. Monty is the winningest coach since 2021. He has had a ton of success. He took a losing franchise in the Phoenix Suns and have turned them into a winning organization, which is attracting free agents. And that's how you can stay relevant. So Monty did a tremendous job in Phoenix, and Detroit wants a piece of it in a big way. And they have an owner that didn't care about the money. He didn't care about it. And that's good for Monty because now he's sitting pretty. So I know he wanted to be down in San Antonio and fishing and all of that. Monty, you can build a lake up in Detroit. Matter of fact, you can put a heater in it now. You can put a heater in there and bring your own fish. I mean, that's how much jack he got for coaching, and good for him.
I think, when you look at the scenario that the Pistons have, they got a lot of young talent. They got Cade Cunningham, and they got guys like Isaiah Stewart and, and Jalen Duren and stuff. And they have a bright future, and they got the number 5 pick in the draft coming up. My biggest question is they don't really have a centerpiece player like a Devin Booker when Monty showed up here in Detroit yet, right? So it's going to be very interesting to see who Monty tries to build that team around, because I feel like Monty likes to anchor his team around an individual or two like he did here with the Suns. Now, part of his downfall here with the Suns was the fact that you saw Mikal do what Mikal did, especially after he left. He went to Brooklyn, and he was able to, obviously up his scoring to a significant degree. And then the downfall of DeAndre Ayton and the lack of communication in that relationship and how that kind of soured it looked like over time. When you get to Detroit, you're kind of, you have, a roster of parts you have some good quality pieces that you can build around for sure, but it's going to be interesting to watch the development of those young players under Monty without that cornerstone piece to really build around yet.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's got to build his staff, and he's got to bring in people that can obviously take what he's trying to teach and apply it on the practice floor. That's going to be the main challenge for him. I'm just interested to see, because he got paid so much, how far is Detroit willing to go in regards to assistant coaches? Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about assistant coaches that he's going to need, because no coach is perfect. No coach has all the answers. And I think the one area that Monty needs a strong-minded assistant coach is the art of play calling. I think that, he has so many positives in a lot of different ways. I think an offensive-minded assistant coach, I think, is definitely a definite for his staff. And so because of that, that's probably an ex-head coach, maybe i.e. a Nate McMillan, who's very close to Monty. I'm sure Monty's probably on the phone immediately trying to convince Nate to come to Detroit to help him. Nate did have a role during the playoffs for the Suns. No one saw him in Phoenix, but he was there. And coaches do it all the time, so it wasn't anything unique. Coaches tap into coaches that are friends of theirs that aren't playing anymore or out of the league, and coaching, and have them give them some suggestions during the course of any series. And Nate was that guy for Monty. And so they're very close. Nate brought him into the fold as an assistant coach up in Seattle or in Portland, I believe. And so, they have a very good relationship. But he's going to have to build a staff, because these are some young players. They're going to need that guidance. He's got some hungry guys. He's got the number 1 pick a couple of years ago, Cade Cunningham, coming back. I think he's a tremendous player. So a lot of talent up there. Now it's about trying to go out and find some veterans. If they're going to invest that much money in Monty, then I think they're willing to continue to move forward in trying to get the best possible people around this young basketball team.
I mentioned this yesterday, and some of my counterparts on the PHNX Sun show kind of some of them agreed, some of them didn't. But I have looked at how some of these teams have been built and really the community that they belong to. We see it a lot in like the NFL. Like Pittsburgh has a DNA about it because of the city and how that organization was constructed and how they're built. Baltimore, relatively the same way. In the NBA, I think Detroit kind of falls into that category in terms of like there's a specific DNA that they like to see their teams have, physical, tough-minded group of individuals. And with Monty specifically, I do wonder if he's going to be able to build a team that will identify with that community much the same way as other Pistons teams that have been successful in the past. Obviously, the Chauncey Billups and Ben Wallace led teams, very defensive-minded games were in the 80s to 90s for the most part. And then you even go back further than that to the bad boy Pistons era, obviously. Do you see Monty as a significant defensive-minded head coach to where he can build kind of that DNA around the fabric of that city?
Yeah, let me respond to somebody real quick. Hello, I'm working in Denver doing the finals, you stoop. I'm not scared to come in anywhere, you stoop. If you know anything about me, I work the finals every year for my radio show, okay? EJ's not scared of nothing. I grew up in the inner city of Chicago. Hello. By the way, you stoop. So repeat your question, man. I couldn't let that.
I mean, it was a pretty long-winded question. So do you think Monty can basically build around the DNA of Detroit a team that city will be able to identify with?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, of course. But you got to remember, the growth of this team started, one, when he brought Ricky Rubio in. And he put him alongside Devin Booker. And I think Devin learned a lot from Ricky and his unselfishness and trusting that he'd get him the ball after he'd gotten his teammates involved. And I thought that really helped Devin. And we saw the result of that. And then Chris Paul comes in. And Chris Paul takes it to another level. Chris Paul was having like MVP type seasons alongside Devin Booker. So that's where he's got to shore up, is to find that leader that can guide these young guys. Is that Cade Cunningham? He's a young player. So it's not going to happen right away, especially after coming off an injury. Yeah. So, he's got to go out and find that veteran that he can bring in there that can help these guys. And so that's what he's going to be targeting, I think, immediately, like today. Who can they find to bring in to really surround these young guys so it can help elevate them as basketball players?
Yeah, for sure. I think, as we pivot from where Monty's going, and obviously we wish him nothing but the best, especially in the Eastern Conference, because we don't really have a vested interest in the Eastern Conference as Suns fans. So go thrive over there. But the thing we do have the vested interest in is obviously who's going to be our new head coach. Kevin Young seems to be the hottest name out there in terms of momentum and trying to piece together how this is all going to work. Obviously, there's three finalists in Kevin Young, Doc Rivers, and Frank Vogel. I'm interested. First of all, Eddie, before we get to Kevin Young, being around the league as much as you are, what do you know that you think is a legitimate reason or two as to why Frank Vogel and Doc Rivers are in the fold and in the mix to possibly get this head coaching job?
Well, I think they're the last two veteran coaches left, right, out there. Frank Vogel won a championship a couple of years ago with the Lakers. And then Doc Rivers, what his pedigree is. He has not missed a season coaching in the last 24 years. So Doc's very good in the interview process in convincing teams to bring him on board. And obviously he's won a championship. So I think that's why those two are still in the fold, especially with Nick Nurse off the radar. I think that's how it's probably played out. And so, I applaud the Suns for not looking away from somebody that was within the organization and giving them an opportunity. So obviously, Kevin Young's interview was good enough for him to still be on the list. I just still don't know if they're done. I just don't. I don't know. Like when you take this long of a process and you've allowed other coaches to get away, I think the Suns are saying to themselves that they might do something that's maybe not according to what the prevailing thought should be. So don't be shocked. That's what I would tell people. Don't be shocked. We've seen it before. We've seen it before. So don't be shocked. I don't know if this thing is a definite, and so that's all I can say. It's not like I have knowledge of anything, but I just don't think it's a definite.
So one thing that was floated around, and I'll give credit to my guys Burns and Gambo yesterday. They did float out the idea that since Bob Myers is now, removed from the Warriors, who knows where he's going to go. Obviously the president of basketball operations over there with the Warriors previously, that Steve Kerr could be a name that could be somehow in the running for a Suns position if things went, right. That would be a name to me that would come out of the blue. That would be a name that a lot of people would not have expected to become a Suns head coach. And that's just an example of a name or a rumor out there that might be referring to what you're talking about in terms of surprise, move. So I don't disagree. And I think, listen, if you've already taken this much time, you just want to make sure you get it right. It doesn't really matter, who you're getting as long as you.
And they don't have a draft pick.
Yeah, and they don't have.
It's not like you need to hurry up and get somebody in there, for a draft or something like that. Free agency, is a bit away as well. So they got time. And I think that's the best thing to do. And so, like I said, the Steve Kerr thing, to me, is a little far-fetched because it's about loyalty. Mm-hmm. Bob Myers could have just left Golden State and went somewhere else immediately. He didn't. So I can't say that he's going to go somewhere. He walked away from a lot of money. So the way his press conference went, he seemed like a dude that was stressed out. So I just don't know where that's going to go. And Steve Kerr, I just think, that'll be difficult for him to leave Steph, and then have to coach against him. Steve is paid very well up there. He's got a lot of power up there. That would be a unique situation. Not to say he's not a tremendous coach, because he is. He's one of the best coaches. And, I didn't say that initially because I thought Mark Jackson set the table for him. But he took what Mark Jackson started up there and he took it to an insane level. And he did it with great coaches around him. He's had a ton of tremendous coaches around him. And I applaud Steve for humbling himself and doing that, because I think it really helped him develop into one of the best coaches in the league, without a doubt.
It would be quite ironic if that was the scenario that did play out, because as we've all kind of speculated over here, that the perception could be that Monty Williams was in fact our version of Mark Jackson and set the table, and then the next guy that comes in, if they win the championship, is that guy that took them over the top. And right. So if Steve Kerr just happened to be that dude, it would be funny.
It would be fun.
It'd be full circle. So, but let's talk about Kevin Young. Okay, Kevin Young. I talked to Joseph Blair from the Washington Wizards, assistant coach over there, former U of A Wildcat, obviously bear down, let's go. He had nothing but great things to say about Kevin Young. Talked about his meticulous attention to detail, his work ethic, and really the biggest thing was his ability to communicate with players and really get them to understand the nuances of the different types of sets and things that they were trying to get done. What do you know about Kevin Young? I know we've talked about him in the past, just kind of briefly, but in terms of NBA circles, his gravity as a potential head coach, what stands out the most in your eyes from what you've heard?
Well, based on what I perceived, it seemed like the players really gravitated to him and they respected him. As an assistant coach, you really have to work to earn that. Coming from somebody that played from, I think, 12 coaches, tons of assistant coaches, I won't name the assistant coaches that I thought had a huge impact on me from top to bottom, but I would say the top two for me, well, I would say top three. Frank Hamblin, he's passed on. Obviously he was on Phil Jackson's championship staffs over the years, but he got his start really when I was in Kansas City and working under Cotton Fitzsimmons. And I think Frank Hamblin by far was the best assistant coach that I've ever had at the NBA level because he not only respected me as a player, but he loved me as a person. And he and I were great friends even after we separated. And I give a lot of the credit to him that kept me sane playing under Cotton, who, Cotton was very hard on his players. But Frank was always that father figure that I never had because I never had a dad in my life. So he became that father figure at the high level, and that was huge for me. Paul Westphal was a tremendous assistant coach for me. He would get up. I'd get to practice. I was one of them dudes, man. I'd get to practice early. Practice was at 10. I had to work on my shot. I'm there at 8 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning. Paul Westphal would be there, rebounding for me. He was a Hall of Famer, man. A great player. He was there rebounding for me. Lionel Hollins. So I had a lot of tremendous Bob Kloppenberg up in Seattle. I had a lot of tremendous assistant coaches. And what I'll say about all of them is that they got along with the players and the players learned to respect them. And obviously, I think I kind of saw that with Kevin Young with the Suns. And I think Monty trusted in him. He was the main guy during the course of a game that was not hesitant to stand up and walk up to where Monty was and talk to him. And so players see that and they see the relationship there. So, like I said, he's got every assistant coach deserves an opportunity, and I always applaud assistant coaches for getting their chance. And now he has an opportunity here. It's a race, it's a dog race, but I think he probably has some players on his side. And I think that's why he's still in the race.
Yeah, I know Devin Booker's been one of his supporters for sure on that front, referring to what you're talking about. But I don't really – I think it's so hard to speculate on what a potential assistant coach can do because until they're in that seat and they're doing that day-to-day and they're in those games and those heavy situations, especially with a team like the Suns who, listen, you're not talking about an assistant coach that's coming in with the Orlando Magic and starting at the bottom floor. You're talking about a team that has championship aspirations.
A team at the beginning of the season that will be considered a championship contender.
Yeah. Exactly. And more importantly, the gravity of the fact that you have a small window to try and get this done. 2-3 years with Kevin Durant. You got more with Devin Booker. But you gotta assume that this window right now is it. So it's a little bit of a different situation. So, but again, I think by all accounts, I would be shocked if Kevin Young wasn't the new head coach for the Phoenix Suns. It just feels like everything is going down that path, and it makes sense, to be honest with you. I think we've seen Frank Vogel and Doc Rivers have success, yes, but I think there was some flaws to the way that they ultimately were successful or unsuccessful with those franchises, and with Doc Rivers, multiple franchises. Frank Vogel did a tremendous job with the Indiana Pacers, gets to the Lakers, has that run in the bubble, and then things kind of fell apart after that. And a lot of that's due to injury. AD was injured quite often, the last couple of years for Frank Vogel. I would love a scenario, as my guy Espo kind of pointed out, I would love a scenario where you hire Kevin Young and you bring in Frank Vogel as like the lead assistant head coach. I don't know if that's really in the cards for Frank at this point in his career. If it's something he'd really be interested in, I'm sure he's interested in other head coaching opportunities at some point. But as a one-year kind of stopgap, I think it would make a lot of Suns fans feel pretty good about the fact that they have a head coach with championship experience backing up a young star head coach that you hope will be in the fold, much like Sean McVay for the Rams when he came in and he had a quality group of assistant coaches that had been in the game for a while. So I think that's the best case scenario for the Suns. Worst case scenario, you get Kevin Young and you move on.
Well, ego always comes into play. And like I said, Frank Vogel's a championship coach. So I don't know if he's competing to get the job, that he would also all of a sudden say, okay, I'll be an assistant. A lot of times that's difficult because whoever gets it knows that the other guy wanted that job. And so how connected will they be once they do try to establish a relationship as coaching a team, and the guy that beat him out is instructing him what to do? That's not easy.
Yeah.
So I think, if I was in that position, I probably wouldn't turn that way, to be quite honest with you, because I would always fear that guy might be second guessing me a lot because his way of interviewing was maybe different than mine. So that's always difficult. Unless they have a friendship and they can get over that, then okay, that's fine and dandy. But there's other ex-NBA coaches that's out there, like Nate McMillan's out there. So my boy Mike Wisson's not leaving Indiana. That's not happening. So it's a lot of ex-NBA coaches out there that probably, could sit next to a head coach, a new head coach, a young head coach, and help them. But I automatically believe that should happen. Like, it should happen. And, I think Joe Mazzulla, I think when he lost Damon Stoudemire this year, a lot of people don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Damon Stoudemire left the Boston Celtics during the middle of the year. And I thought that really hurt them not to have that guy next to them. So it's extremely important, man, because if you're a head coach and you think you know it all, you will fail.
Yeah.
You will.
1,000,000%.
You will fail. And so I applaud the Suns for taking their time. And like I said, this new organization, this new leadership, they're not being guided by anybody. Like, I think the Suns fans probably pretty much know that now. Like, they're not connected to the past. They don't want their decision making to be connected to the past. And if they make a decision on something, regardless whether you don't like it, I think you need to have to accept it, because I don't think it's going to change.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. One thing that also never changes, actually, no, there is a lot of change going on at ogsbrands.com. Let's be real about this. Like, they got a bunch of cream flavored gummies now that have just hit the market. They got a potpourri of all different types of flavors. You can go check them out at ogsbrands.com. I'm telling you, folks, if you've ever gone to a dispensary and you've asked for OGs, if there's any in the dispensary, there's only a few still left on the walls because they're always running great deals, buy one get one and things of that nature. The flavors are incredible, and also on top of that, I'm just being real with you folks. If you've eaten any other gummies, usually when you eat a gummy, sometimes you can kind of taste the THC and all this other stuff. But with OGs, it's like you're eating candy, to be honest with you. It's pretty dope. It's like candy, baby. And so listen,
baby, I ain't your baby.
ogsbrands.com is the place to go. Check it out. You must be 21 and over to enjoy, and enjoy responsibly.
Here's my gummy right here.
What is that? Your daily vitamin?
No. This is my melatonin to put me to sleep.
Hey, well, OG's has got a sleepy time gummy too there.
I'm going to start dreaming about monsters. No. Sooner or later, you're going to get me to try one of them OGs. And I will. That would be the first time I've ever in my life done that.
Listen, I'm not your pusher, but
I'm gonna call you my pusher man.
But if you come out to NBA Summer League, I promise you we're gonna have a good time.
You think I might say, "Oh geez," after I take it? Oh geez.
Speaking of high, you're in the Mile High City right now, Denver, and you got Miami versus Denver tonight. I'm very interested in this series. I think Denver is the better team. I think Denver, if you've seen them play and you watched the caliber of basketball that they've been playing, I think they've been playing the best out of any team in the NBA so far in these playoffs. I tweeted out that I expect a sweep. Now, if you know my shtick, you know that I definitely do not hope that the Denver Nuggets win this series. I hope that they get swept themselves. But hey, that's just my shtick. That's whatever.
Is that your shtick? Is that your fiction?
My prediction is that the Nuggets are going to win the series.
By what?
I said a sweep. I think they're going to sweep the. I hope that. Well, I think they're going to sweep the Heat.
Why do you think they're going to sweep? I mean, based on everything you've seen with this Miami team to this point. Let's think about this.
Listen, this is the reason why. This is my reasoning. This is my reasoning. I think that they're going to sweep because if they don't and they end up losing, I want to quote tweet my own tweet and say you're frauds.
So you have an agenda then.
I do have an agenda.
Okay, you have an agenda. Like I'm picking the Nuggets as well, but I'm hoping Miami beats them as well. But if they don't, I'll be happy for Jamal Murray. I really like him. I've gotten to know him. Aaron Gordon. So I love the way Jokic plays. I think it tells a story if he wins. But, yeah, when you beat up my team, right, you tend to not want them to win. And you kind of win on both sides of the ledger because you don't want them to win. But if they do win and Miami doesn't win more than 2 games, I think now we can look back at our Phoenix Suns and say, if Chris Paul doesn't get hurt in game 2 when we're up 9, I want Suns fans to understand this.
Yep.
And I'm not stretching for excuses because, look, everybody has injuries during the course of a playoff. Jason Tatum goes down in the first 5 seconds. Okay, so we know that. But we can still go what ifs. And the Suns were up 9 points. And Chris Paul was the reason why they were up 9. He was hitting that mid-range shot, midi shot off of the 2-man game. And he tweaks his hams, he tweaks his groin, and he's done for the rest of the series. And if they win game 2, and then they go home and they did win 2 games at home, they're up 3-1. That's how close sometimes a 7-game series can be. And so, yeah, the Suns would look a lot better if Denver did beat up on Miami. And then that would show us that, yeah, the toughest series that Denver had was against the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it does make you feel a little bit better about the way things unfolded for the Suns. Listen, the Suns could be the only team to beat the Denver Nuggets twice in the playoffs. And Denver Nuggets fans will sit there and tell you that, the only reason why they beat them twice is because Devin Booker was on an all-time heater in those 2 games. Well, sure, you could say that, but at the same time, like, you got Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray had the game of his life in game 1 against us. It is what it is. This is how these things go. I think Jimmy Butler. Listen, this Heat team is grimy and they're physical, and they can do the one thing that Heat can do. I think better than anybody that the Nuggets have played so far, Suns included, is they can be far more consistent from the perimeter than the Suns were. And so I think outside shooting. And then obviously with Jimmy Butler kind of doing being a jack of all trades, and they're just feisty. They play solid defense, and so listen, I think it's going to be a competitive series. Yeah. I know I said sweep, but I would not be shocked if this series went 6 or 7 games at all. I'm very interested because Heat fans will sit there and tell you, "Whoa, all you got." Listen, everybody and their moms talked about putting Jokic in the pick and roll, and nobody's really been able to execute it at a high enough level to win a consistent amount of games against the Denver Nuggets. So we can stop with Bam Adebayo going to be that guy. It's just, is it really going to happen? I doubt that.
Yeah, well, you can attack Jokic. You can. I think if Chris Paul had stayed in that series, the Suns would have gotten him and isolated him and got him out there. And the Lakers just had a hard time doing it. And so it's ways to attack them. But I think the Miami Heat is the best team in regards to really throwing them off kilter because they're going to go zone sometimes. They're going to go different types of zones. They're going to go different types of strategies off of the 2-man game. It's pretty obvious the hub of their offense is Jokic at the high post, okay? And Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. running off, handoffs and all of that. And so we know what their bread and butter is. And I think Miami is going to really concentrate on that aspect of it to try to force Jokic to go to the left or the right block. Because when he's up there at the top and he has the ball and he turns, now he can see left and right and he will destroy you because now he's got the full court But if you make him go to the left block or the right block, now the court shrinks, and now his vision is not to all four teammates out there on the floor. So I think they're going to be very strategic and just try to throw him off. And I think that's going to be key. But you said it. Miami got some guys that can shoot it, man. And that's the way that they play. They're going to push it. They're going to look for threes. They're going to hunt for threes. Bam does a good job at the high post himself with his passing and his decision-making. And I think the Heat, in a way, man, they'll get under the skin of the Nuggets. And then I think that's going to be the key, is controlling tempo and obviously attacking Jokic. And Jimmy Butler is one of the best in the league at drawing fouls. And so I can see them being very aggressive early, trying to attack Jokic to see if they can get him in foul trouble. And then the layoff. Look, I don't care what anybody say. You got that many days off, you got to recalibrate, man. It's nothing like NBA basketball if you got to be playing NBA basketball. They've had 9 days off, okay? And they can't practice against each other as strategic and as hard as they would like. They don't want to get injured. So I think the Miami Heat, the first quarter of this game is going to tell us how connected they are more so than the Nuggets. And if the Nuggets have a lot of rust that they have to work off, I think that's going to be the key early. I think game one is a game that Miami can get. The Nuggets are undefeated here in Denver during the playoffs. But game one is the game that Miami should focus on to get. Normally, with both teams with equal West, you would say game two. But game one, if the Heat can get game one, this series all of a sudden becomes a 6 or 7 game series. But I got the Nuggets in 6. But again, I'm not counting the Miami Heat out, man. Just not. I've seen enough. And Caleb Martin keeps playing like he is. He's looking like the second coming of Scottie Pippen. So, I mean, we just never know what you're going to see. And Tyler Hero is projected to come back in game 3. I just think that Miami is going to really make it a little bit more difficult on Denver than people think.
Yeah, I look at guys, you mentioned Martin. I look at guys like Aaron Gordon and MPJ as well, for the Nuggets specifically, having to play the way they have been playing in this postseason. I really think Aaron Gordon, to me, has been the unsung hero for the Denver Nuggets because of his physicality, his versatility on defense. He's provided that toughness for that group and really been the guy that does all the dirty work for them. And you always need that kind of guy. But Miami, they have a couple dudes that are kind of like that. And so this is a very interesting matchup. It's going to be fun to watch because more than anything, Spoelstra is going to throw the kitchen sink at the Denver Nuggets in this series. Every single thing he can try to exploit, he will. And if the Nuggets, it can respond like they have so far in these playoffs, if they can respond and adapt quickly, I think they're going to steamroll the Miami Heat. But again, to your point, I also am not doubting the Miami Heat by any stretch of the imagination. I think they have a good chance to be able to pull this off as well. But I'm leaning towards the Denver Nuggets. I'd probably say I'm 70% confident that the Denver Nuggets will win this series. And we'll see how it goes. Now, if they don't, well, hell, you know what we're going to do over here in Phoenix. So, I mean, hey, there's some people in Denver dancing on our graves last year when we lost against the Dallas Mavericks, and they didn't have anything to do with that series. Best believe that shit's coming back around if they don't win this series.
Of course.
That's just how it goes, man. I don't know how the Denver Nuggets became, basically our arch rival all of a sudden. But man, the animosity between the two cities, I don't think I've ever felt that with another city before. Because with Lakers fans, they always feel like they're obligated to win championships. They feel like it's like their birthright. So you don't really. It's whatever. Like the Lakers fans, we hate the Lakers, we hate LA, we hate everything about LA, whatever. But Denver, especially Nuggets, like it's just there's something about them that we just do not jive with, and they don't jive with us. Obviously, dating back to the Suns and Four stuff.
So we can't look. We cannot be hypocrites. Okay.
Oh, I'm not going to be hypocrites.
Part of their vitriol and all of that against the Phoenix Suns and the Laker fans as well, because we beat them pretty handily a couple of years ago, is that we swept them. Like, and so Jokic got ticked. He got kicked off. He slung campaign around like he was a rag doll. And they had some vitriol. And it's sort of like the vitriol that we had as Phoenix Suns back, I think, in 1990, a year after the Lakers swept us in the Western Conference Finals. And then we came back and we beat them 4-1. Like, you carry that, man. And so that's exactly what happened. It was the worst opponent, I think, for us to have to deal with as we were still trying to, groove together as a team. I think if we had somehow been out of that bracket and we had the Nuggets in the conference finals, that would have been a different story. So it was all about time, and so give the Nuggets their due and their credit, man. They did everything they had to do, and they beat us on our home floor after we beat them 2 times in a row, because I felt it was going to go to a Game 7.
Yeah,
and they came into Phoenix and they handed it to us. So you got to give it to them, man, and you got to get better from it. And if they win, they win. If they win the title this year, that's fine. Then we'll just kick their butt next year. And then that's just the way I view it. But it's going to be interesting, and they're pumped up here in Denver. I'm gonna tell you that right now. They're partying at the arena. My station for my radio show on Sirius XM NBA Radio, it's on today. Matter of fact, I think it's later today. So I think we're on from let me get this right. We're on from 3 to 6, and that's our time here in Denver. So I think it's 2 to 5 in Phoenix. And so we're right there in the arena. So those fans that have been ripping me all year, you got your chance. If you're a Denver fan, I'm right there in the middle of everybody as they're walking into the arena, speakers blaring. You're going to hear my voice, interviewing some of your former Nugget greats about what's going to happen tonight. I'll be right there. So I'm not hiding.
Well, you can find him in Denver. You might even be able to find him at the DMVR bar, to be honest with you, because he did get the invite to the special little event tomorrow night.
Check that out tomorrow night.
We're gonna stay in the family, All City Network. Hey, it's all good, and so have a good time out there. Before we let you go and get back to other things, we had some news yesterday off the basketball court. I figured maybe you want to chime in on this. Skip and Shannon will no longer be. Shannon negotiated a buyout, and he's out. I think after the finals will be his last show. What was your take when you heard that in terms of those two no longer working together? Because obviously we saw them butt heads multiple times.
Yeah, and I'm not shocked by it. I mean, if you know the history of Mr. Bayless, I mean, he doesn't keep, partners a long time. So I'm not shocked by it. Even remember the time when this co-host, the host of the show, Jenny, went at him. She didn't last long. So he has a history of, if guys go at him too hard or back him up against the wall, then he kind of bites back because he does have control. Give him credit for that. He has control. And, he probably kicks and screams and gets his way. He's not unique. Most people in those positions get it done. You probably kicking and screaming right now. Eddie, I don't know if Eddie can do this with me. No, I'm just kidding. You're not doing that. Even though you did scream at me on the golf course last week.
I did. I felt bad for that afterwards.
Tried to blame it on me because you
don't talk in my backswing. Man, what's so funny, Eddie, is that you literally just got mad at somebody else for doing the same thing.
But I didn't get mad. I just said, look, stop talking in my backswing. It was
they moved the cart, and you were like, "Why are you going to move the cart in the middle of my backswing?"
But I was very smooth with it. You want me to tell everybody what you said?
I was a little egregious with it. I give you that, and I apologize, Eddie.
You ain't got to apologize. I didn't care. You didn't bother me. I was glad I got under your skin. You think that bothered me? I was in your head. Don't you understand that?
Eddie, we were on the same team. There was no getting in anybody's head.
I don't know what it was. Maybe you were trying to outdrive me. I don't know.
No, I was pissed because I duffed a shot. That's all it was.
I don't know. You're out of control. Maybe next time I play with you, I'm gonna bring about 2 pounds of OGs. Let you calm down. No, I'm not, but I'm not shocked with this. I mean, they've had their run-ins on this show, and it got, look, I have my run-ins on my radio show with my co-host. He'll tell you we don't too much care for each other. Yeah, but I wouldn't want to work with anybody else. Okay, I think he's tremendous at what he does. I do. I think he carries the show extremely well. He's very knowledgeable. We agree on most things because he's like an old school mentality, but he's sick out of his mind. Okay, he's crazy animal, and a lot of things that we don't agree on. Okay, and so there's been many times I've been wanting to. Lucky we don't work in the studio. Okay, that's all I can tell him time and time again. Justin Termini is his name. If you all want to know, he might feel good that I mentioned his name because he does peek in. He says he doesn't, but he does. He's probably listening right now. Okay, so I'm not shocked that Shannon didn't jump across the table on him. I'm serious, especially when he started going at him about, when he was comparing him to Tom Brady and he was getting mad that, he was getting on Tom Brady, and then he started questioning, Shannon's career. And you can just tell that Shannon took his glasses off. He was ready to go. Mm-hmm. And Skip was baiting him. Like, put your glasses back on. It's almost like he's baiting him. Maybe he's trying to recoup some of that money he had to pay me a couple of years ago when he opened his mouth about me. Because he paid. All right. He didn't remember, but he paid. And so, I don't hate anybody. I don't, I don't. I came close to it with him. I do respect what he does. I think he has galvanized a stick that has worked for him. He's very smart. He knows the sports. Don't agree with him on most things. And I think Shannon just had enough, personally. I think, I don't know if you can work with a guy that period of time, that long. And I think Shannon probably wind up on ESPN now. Probably. But Shannon's very opinionated himself, so he doesn't escape from this. I mean, he's gone at athletes to the highest degree, and I think sometimes overboard. And I talk basketball. That's what I do. Like, I love sports. You know this. I mean, I'm a diehard Cub fan. All due respect to the Diamondbacks, Derek Hall. Okay, all right. I love the Diamondbacks, but I love my Cubs. And I'm diehard, but I'm not going to get on a talk show and try to argue with somebody about baseball and they grew up in the baseball game. Yeah. Like, I just can't do that. I'll maybe debate some nuances, but I won't go overboard. Yeah. And I think at times Shannon went overboard when he's debating NBA basketball or the sports. He was a great football player. Come on, man. The way he was ripping on Russell Westbrook this year, he and I got into it about it. One thing to say he's struggling, another thing to start going all in like he was every day. Just the stuff that he's done in regards to talking about basketball, I just took offense to it. Yeah. I mean, trust me. I mean, everybody thought, well, Shannon going to beat you up. He got to catch me first. The only way he can beat me up is if they put us in a boxing ring and the ring is like 2x2. Because if it was a normal boxing ring, he not catching me. Like
Eddie. Oh, wait, what?
He not catching me. Let me finish.
Eddie, he's still in shape.
Let me finish. He not catching me with nothing. His arm's too short, man.
Like, oh no.
Man, look, man. Listen. First of all, you got an official in there. Okay?
Oh my God.
Look, I'm dead serious on this. First of all, you got an official. This is a guy that probably had about 100 fights in his life. Trust me. Growing up in inner city, you had to fight. Yeah. I got my butt kicked a lot, but I kicked a lot of butt. Trust me. And so his arm's too short, man. So his best thing to get on me really is two things. He's got to get close enough into me to be able to go to the body and hit me with the body. Because he can't lift his arm. You see them jackets he wears. He can't lift his arm. So how is he going to do this? How is he going to extend? He can't extend, man. He's just used to doing this.
Brother, all I can think of right now is Tyson versus Spinks. That's all I can think of right now. Because you're tall, you're lean. Michael Spinks was a taller, kind of leaner boxer for the heavyweight division, and then Tyson came in and he was the same thing. He didn't have the reach. He was just a bulldog.
Every time Shannon would try to come into my body and grab me, I'm gonna grab him. Like, I'm gonna grab him. Because that's his only advantage. Like, I'm gonna grab him and hold him, they're gonna break it up, and then it's back to the pepper. Well, his head be going like this.
All right, man. Well, hey, I don't see it that way, but I love your confidence. That's Eddie Johnson. He's going to be in Denver all week. We'll be back again next week, obviously, with another episode of Outside Shots. You can catch him on Sirius Satellite Radio, NBA Radio today from 2 to 5 here local time. And check them out. Does a great job over there. I'm Saul Bookman. You can follow Eddie Johnson at JumpShot8 on Twitter. You can follow me at Saul_Bookman. Until next time, peace.
Later.